First of all, we are engaged in each of the speakers we should think for ourselves. And yet we are constantly speaking within the paradigm that has been imposed on us. Everything is about free market capitalism. How I feel. Nobody speaks of the countries that have been ruined by free market capitalism. Nobody speaks of what has happened to America under the impact of its own theories of globalization, where the entire manufacturing sector is being where the entire manufacturing sector has been transported heavily to China, but almost entirely out of the country. And what America is now finding is that this is a national security issue. It is an issue of national informalization. This is at it is by the world the richest country in the world. It is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of per capita income. And it has lakhs of people who are living homeless. So these prepackaged ideologies, capitalism, socialism, they cannot answer all that. These are very complex work. Today, the most successful model, and I don't agree with it, the most successful model of economic administration is China, which has taken a country that was poorer than India. It has made it the second largest economy. It has transformed the lives of all its people. There is virtually no poverty, as we understand it. And people are looking at China as a model to emulate. I'm not part of that. But please recognize that the most successful economic model today is not the US, not free market capitalism, but controlled bureaucratically, technocratically controlled China. So there is no formula that is going to get you out of this. You can't just say, oh, let's follow free market capitalism, everything. There is a hidden hand. The hidden hand is where people utter and complete ruination. Understand one thing more. You are being lied to. Most of the instrumentalities of international organizations and agencies are weaponized. They are weaponized by the groups that, or nation states, that control these institutions. We are being told that, just this morning I saw one of the headlines said that Thailand has attacked India for selling subsidized rice on the international market. True, false, I'm not interested. So is India the only country that subsidizes agriculture? Does America not subsidize agriculture? The American farmer's average income is higher than the national average income. $12.6 billion went into some agricultural subsidies last year. So where is your pure capitalism here? Why does pure capitalism only have, and it's not America alone, all of Europe subsidizes agriculture. You have a problem because we are producing methane gas from our cattle. You don't have a problem with the obscene consumptions of power and petroleum per capita that America and Europe is producing. Understand where this argument is going, what is happening all around. Understand also that capitalism and socialism are both ideologies and systems that are now no longer relevant, or at least are being progressively made irrelevant. Both of these are based on a land labor capital economy. Understand that with technological transformation, both land and labor are increasingly marginalized as factors of production. You need a new economics to address the problems of the new world. I want to take up, and my basic orientation and what I started or came here with was really to speak of water and the crisis of water. That has been spoken of by the other speakers. Punjab This is Punjab. This is the land of used to be 5 rivers, now 3. It is still inherently the land of water of rivers. And the crisis of water in Punjab goes beyond it goes beyond the center state, and this is a point I'm trying to make very strongly. It is no longer a question today about interstate water disputes, SYL, Haryana, Rajasthan. I ask you a very basic thing. If Punjab is desertified, what is going to happen to these lower states? Is Haryana going to flourish? Is Rajasthan going to flourish? We have to look at the water issue in a completely different context. I think Dr. Gill, Professor Gill spoke of conflicts, murders as a result. Understand there has been a tremendous, water has become a source of conflict across the world. I have data here from Pacific Ocean. It says that between 2000 and 2009 there were 220 global conflicts across the world. The largest number, 111, was in Asia, which were related to water. Right? This rose from 111 between 2010 to 2019. That number rose to 600. Sorry, from 2020 to 627, with Asia accounting for 388. And these numbers are growing. The data has not been updated, but if you see individual data on it, you find that the segmental data increases. We must also understand that there is a very complex relationship between water, food, human, and national security. This idea that let the market go where it goes. Food security is inherent, it is necessary. You think the free market is going to keep on providing you with things? What happened to Sri Lanka when their economy collapsed? They lived off the roles that India provided. Nobody else, India provided. And then, of course, others. So don't think that you can just depend on the market. Food, water, these are weapons of war. And if you do not have a certain measure of food security in your country, irrespective of the system you follow, your security, your human security, your national security is at stake. The risk of water-related violence is enormously increased. Water, shortage of water is going to create shortage of food. You are going to have increased food prices. You are going to have political stress. So don't try to think that all this goes away, or that the free market addresses these factors. The free market often aggravates these factors. We have spoken of the farmer and how he should sort of merge into the free market. The free market has been utterly devastating for the farmer across the world and in the relationship between the rural and urban areas. In terms of trade, the farmer has to get rid of his crop at a particular point of time. We talk about farmers' earnings will improve with free market. MSP is there in 3 states or 4 states, as far as I remember. What about the other states? Are farmers doing very well there? MSP used to be there in Bihar and was removed. I ask you one thing. You spoke of maximum something like that, for government price. You know, I was very, very confused when this whole reform laws and the discourse was going on at that time. They said that if the private sector enters over here, the prices of agricultural produce will rise. First of all, that is not true of any other part of this country where MSP is. And if the prices of agricultural produce will rise when the private sector enters here, what is your problem of giving a notional MSP? कोई हर आदमी खरीदने को आ रहा है, सरकार को खरीदना पड़ेगा। क्यों आप कहते हैं no, we have to spend 10 lakh crores on MSP? Rubbish! 10 lakh crores is the value of the total crop. And if the entry of the private sector is so wonderful and everybody is going to come and run to the farmer begging him to sell at exorbitant prices, Do you know, I was just yesterday, we had been coming from Delhi, passed through all sorts of farms and fields because traffic was very limited for farmer education. They are selling potatoes at 3 rupees a kilo. Please tell me what the market price is over here. Between what the farmer gets and the retail price, there are factors of 10, 20, 30 items. What they are buying for 5 rupees and 10 rupees is sold for 100, 150. It doesn't come to the farmer. The free market is an instrumentality which is moving more and more towards the concentration of wealth. And it has been facilitated by the bureaucracy that you speak of, sir. There is no free market. It is all a manipulated market. And I can so go ahead and talk about water as an element within the so-called free market system. The financial capitals of the world, Wall Street, the London 1 mile stretch, what do they call it, financial sector. They are not even only trying, they have created markets for water. They say water is a financial product like any other financial product. No one has a special right. The market fashion was the first one to bring this whole water issue to the level of government, and water was privatized across the UK. Not just the supply of water, the ownership of water has been privatized in the UK. And not just in the UK, in many cities in the US, in Australia, in Chile, among others. Yes. And the results that I would encourage you to sort of study this in greater detail if you're interested. The kind of distortions, the kind of predatory extraction that has resulted. You said, sir, food is the new oil. Water is the new oil. Water is the new gold. And once it goes into private hands, because of its very nature, life depends on water. It can be the most cruel instrument of exploitation and extraction. Scandal after scandal has afflicted the companies that control water in the areas the water is in private hands. So the free market, you've got what they are calling water balance, water bandits. In these regions, in so many areas of Australia, small farmers have been driven out of farming because of the price of water. And these same corporations which control water are now taking over their lands. So this free market is not magic upon. There is no invisible hand that works. You know, it's a wonderful, I always go back to Keynes. He said, in the long run, we are all dead. So in the long run, the free market and the invisible hand may do whatever it wants. But in the near term, it is a complex system which combines politics, governance, economics. There are no more automatic principles of resolution and equilibrium. And understand one thing more, politics always trumps economics. Whatever the economic imperatives, there is always a stupid enough politician to come along and say, or give up. It could be right. How does commodification come into things like this? What does it mean? We are so used to commodities. I mean, everything has been reduced to commodities. There is this book who are interested in literature. There is this lovely little, it's a play, or book if you like. You can read it by Ben Elton called Gatsby. It goes into the whole idea of commodification of air, of clean air, where you have a situation where the whole world has been so heavily polluted, and only the few centers or areas where you have heavy forestation in certain parts of the world, Africa, certain parts of Asia, etc. Do you have areas of clean air which are then purchased by a corporation, piped to the affluent areas of the most affluent countries in the world, where people live under glass. Okay. Now this sounds so silly and absurd and so far-fetched, but as absurd, as silly and as far-fetched as my great-grandfather or my grandfather would have thought the selling of bottles of water at 20 to 55 rupees or more, 300 and 400 rupees if you want premium brands. I certainly was brought up drinking water from the tap. So don't think this is not happening. This is happening. It is happening slowly. Water is being commodified. And the commodification of water is going to so completely disrupt every aspect of your life and leave you with no bargaining power against those who control this critical resource. Understand also that the terms of trade between the agrarian sector and the urban sector are so adverse. You talk about rice, and rice is absurd. It's stupid that rice should have been produced in the world. Or is it? It was not the farmer who stood up in the 1960s and said, no, I will produce rice and wheat over here. There was a certain need. It was a matter of policy. Those policies said that this little piece of land is going to provide 40 to 50% of the food that this starving nation, please understand. They used to talk about we are living from ship to mouth, PL480 and the export of or import of food, not the import, the distress supply of food grain from the United States. And it was for this, to address this crisis, that the government of that time created the system of NSP and the Green Revolution, irrigation, provision of hybrid varieties, etc. And it is the succession of utterly stupid governments thereafter who did nothing to change or adapt the system and who are now trying to transfer the entire cost of this adaptation to the farmer. You say MSP is going to distort everything. Well, MSP distorted everything to make Punjab the breadbasket of India. What is to stop these same policy makers from getting Punjab to shift cultivation over here without causing acute and excessive distress to the farmers over here? There is no pure system, as I said. There is no pure system. Let the market come, everything will be alright. You let the market come here, there will be no small farmer left in Punjab. Is that a good thing? Look at what corporatized farming has done in America. Is it more environmentally friendly? It is not. It is disastrous environment. And there are no small farmers. There are thousands and thousands of acres per farmer. Is small farming good and efficient? What is the meaning of efficiency? You cannot assess everything. There is a difference between value and price. In Richard III, Shakespeare's play, there is this line towards the end where the king is crying out, a horse, a kingdom for my horse. The value of a horse at that point of time when his life depends on it. It's not the price of a horse. It is the kingdom itself. What is the value of water? What is the value of life? That is the question you have to ask yourself. And as the capitalist, the profiteer, sit there thinking, then he is going to body quickly for you. Privatization. And this is specifically mentioned, of course. And many good things have come from privatization. But it is not an answer to everything. Privatization has ruined the educational sector in India. Standards have declined beyond belief. Costs of education have become completely prohibitive, not only in the private sector but also in the government sector. You are all very young, but let me tell you that my last fees that I paid as a PhD candidate in Delhi University was 24 rupees a quarter. 24 rupees a quarter, which was an half amount of people. You used to get a bus pass for 12 rupees 50 paisa. People used to take admission and courses just to get that pass. Because it allowed you to go all over there for free. There were no private buses in those days, or very few. Is this an efficient system? Well, I tell you, yes, it is. It allowed the children of the poor, many of them were far more talented than the children of the rich, or at least were far more willing to work harder. So many of us, so many of your generation are going to be excluded from the possibility of education or good education by the processes of privatization. So should we shut down all private universities? No, of course not. But please understand, there is no pure system that is going to serve your interests. All these are value assessments. And there has to be a mechanism through which the values that are best for a society can actually be chosen. It is the market system that is resulting in overexploitation today. It is this free globalized marketing system, which sees nothing but profit. And says, tear down the jungles, tear down extract as much water as you can. Next year, next generation doesn't matter. Make whatever you can now and run away. This is what actually corporations who bought the water rights in the UK did. They bought them, and then after 10 years, they sold them, leaving those corporations $10 billion in debt, which was then that cost was transferred to the consumer. These are not some wonderful good people sitting there. This whole nonsense about, the market will get the inefficient people out. And look at the inefficiencies of the market. If the market is so very efficient, why does the US have to allocate how many $1 trillion to correct the distortion of the market after the collapse in 2008? Why does India have to wipe out the loans of I don't know how many lakh crores of the corporates? Private sector is no more or no less efficient than the public sector. It is no more or no less corrupt than the public sector. It is a question of the environment within which it operates. It can operate well or it can operate poorly, and that is a function of the profile of human resources in a country. If your bureaucracy is corrupt, if your systems are corrupt, if your politics are corrupt, whatever the situation, it is because our populations do not have an education, do not participate in informed politics, can be bought with atta and milk or something else that are given out as freebies. So, you must try to understand these elements. I don't have a solution for any of this, but we must address them. We must apply our minds instead of looking for formulae that are going to solve them. The other thing, water has been the source of very important conflicts in India. It was mentioned during the militancy period. Water was a very major issue. Yes, why the land was specifically a very important issue. But I think we should now stop looking at it purely in terms of interstate conflicts. It is, I don't deny it. At this point of time, with half the water in Punjab flowing to Rajasthan and another water flowing to Haryana, I think this is the most inequitable distribution in the world. No riparian state ends up with 1/4 of its water resources. No riparian state ends up with. And these are not, and sharing it through non-riparian states. These are not part of the river systems from which they are produced. So I don't agree with this. But the point, as I said earlier, you've got to stop looking at it as an interstate issue alone. You have got to look at it as an issue of survival. As I said, if Punjab is desertified, I like the Punjabi word for Marustha. Not a desert, but a place of death. If Punjab becomes a place of death, as they are now saying, is possible if this mismanagement continues for another decade or two. What will happen to Haryana and Rajasthan? Are they going to flourish? Are they going to turn green? So we've got to apply our minds in far comprehensive, complex ways to these problems and understand that no single solution is going to help us. Now, what can or should be done? Again, before I start off, let me say this very clearly, I have no easy solutions. There is no simple formula that is going to allow us. But we must also understand this is Punjab, this is the state that saved this entire country from hunger and starvation. This is a very unique set of people. There is a cultural heritage over here which is dissimilar from the rest of the country. And I think it is substantially to the credit of Sikhism that this culture has roots. I mean, we separated Haryana from Punjab, and that is a totally different place now. It does not have any of the, certainly of the virtues that have the Punjab. So, in a place like this, pessimism has no space. The crisis we are in is something we can face. Certainly, we must get rid of rights and corruption. The state will have to step in for it. We may even have to substantially reduce wheat. I mean, wheat is not a traditional crop in Punjab. It is the coarse grain and pulses that were the traditional crops in Punjab. And coarse grains, what we call coarse grains now, are now health foods. So they are premium products. They are no longer the food for the dangal and for the poor. But this transition, as I said before, cannot be done by the farmer on his own. He is too fragile. His life situation is too fragile. I don't know what the numbers are. 11,000, 12,000 farmers commit suicide in Punjab every year. You are asking this man. I find it fascinating looking at YouTube videos and all these social media videos. वो Mercedes में आया, वो गाड़ी में आया, नया ट्रैक्टर लेके आया. The farmer income in India on the average is 10,000 rupees a month. It is lower than the national average income. Dramatically lower than the national average. इस गरीब के सर पे आप सारा कुछ थोपना चाहते हैं. Maybe free market will take care of it. He does not have the courage to approach that one. Even if you are right, even if it is true, you prove that 10 years from now, but in those 10 years, I am going to be forced to commit suicide. My children are going to go hungry. In the long run, one good thing will happen. But as I said before, in the long run, we are all safe. They are effective measures to address the water crisis. There is, of course, an enveloping climate crisis, and that I do not think the farmer of Punjab or the people of Punjab can address. That is a global effort. But even within Punjab, you can recharge and you can much better utilize the waters that are available. The water runoff during monsoon is 94% in Punjab. 94% of water is of rainwater. Just flows out of the state. And there are very simple ways, which again the farmer can't do on his own. Or maybe he can if he is guided or adequately funded and so on. Or it can be transferred to panchayats. Today I have obviously we are some 65%. We are overdrawing. As I said, our groundwater absorption in monsoon is just about 6%. If you could take that to 12 or 15%, I think our problem is gone. At least we have an immediate and urgent problem of sinking water levels. We pumped in Punjab more than 5 million liters of pollutants, human waste and industrial waste, into the rivers in Punjab every day. 5 million liters per day. I think we have something like 9 water treatment plants over here, out of which 2 or 3 work, the others don't even work. There is built-in stupidity in the system. And how do you address stupidity? I mean, there are other things, wastewater management, all these things are there, you will know. But how do we get rationalization or rationality into the system? And that's where you come in, that's where the people come in. That's where informed choice comes in. I mean, very importantly, where's the data, how the informed choice? But even if you have the data, sir, the bag of atta and the bag of another is going to today. So, we have got to get this information into the discourse at the lower political levels, at the level of the voter, and ensure that there is pressure. And I find it fascinating that this entire Kisan Morcha movement, for whatever its flaws, I think is the best thing that has happened to this country in decades. In decades. Because this is the only way to force rationality onto government policy. This is the only way. Otherwise, everyone is committed to the capitalist system of looting as much as he can in that strong religious. Whether he is looting you through trade, or through his position as a bureaucrat, or his position as a minister. We live in a system of loot. That system of loot is called capitalism. Thank you very much.